Will the Committee of Supply please come to order? This section of the Committee of Supply will now consider the estimates of the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. Does the Honourable Minister have an opening statement?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to provide the 2023-2024 Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure supplements for the estimates for the expenditures, which provides the information of the 2003 budget, departmental activities, and initiatives. Manitoba has long been a proud history of the trade and transportation gateway. As you understand, we were nicknamed the Keystone Province, and because of the Keystone Province, we are the gateway when it comes to transportation east and west, from Ontario to the Prairie provinces. And Manitoba, our vision is that for Manitoba, over the next 10 years, to be recognized as a national and international transportation hub linking east to west, north to south, to enable long economic activities within and across our borders. Manitoba Transportation Infrastructure's budget of 2023 introduces, for the first time in Manitoba's history, a 5-year capital plan with key priorities to strengthen our investments and build the province's infrastructure to help realize our vision. Over the next 5 years, Manitoba plans strategic investments in roads, highways, bridges, northern airports, and flood protection will total $4.1 billion, reflecting our government's commitment to building our economy and investing in Manitoba's future. For the 2023, our public-facing 5-year strategy expands beyond highway capital to include water infrastructure and northern airport capital. The plan reflects our 4 investment pillars: infrastructure renewal, climate resiliency, innovation, and connectivity, and economic development. It includes a minimum of investment of $500 million per year on highway capital infrastructure, a total of $2.5 billion over the next 5 years, and plans to invest more than $668 million in our water-related capital infrastructure, including and proposed Lake St. Manitoba and Lake St. Martin's outlet channel projects to support climate resiliency and adaptation. We have made significant progress in advancing through the environmental assessment process for the channels. We remain committed to fulfilling our obligation and collaborating with Indigenous communities. This includes an estimating of an environmental advisory committee and committing of $15 million to fund that will enhance Indigenous economic participation in the project. Budget 2023 has increased funding for the maintenance of Manitoba's existing highways and water infrastructures by more than $11.5 million. This is the largest increase in maintenance in the past decades. Manitoba Transportation Infrastructure includes to develop key initiative to move us closer to our vision of Manitoba as the national and international transportation hub, with strategies to ensure that Manitoba receives the best possible value for their money. One of the strategies is the Winnipeg 1 Million Perimeter Freeway Initiative. We have already implemented many immediate safety improvements, with ongoing improvements as Winnipeg continues to grow. These investments are creating a modern freeway for a safer and more efficient perimeter highway, which would include the construction of new interchanges in St. Mary's Road, the McGillivray Boulevard, and at St. Anne's Road. The National Trade Corridor strategy aims to improve the fundamental safety and flow of Manitoba's most critical trade and travel corridors. The initial focus on the twinning of the Trans-Canada Highway from Falcon Lake to the Ontario border and completing with the upgrades to Highway 75 south of Morris and additional future improvements under this strategy. In October 2022, Manitoba announced a critical $40 million investments for the expansion and future development of Centreport South. We are pleased to see that Canada followed the province. We're pleased to see Canada follow the provincial commitment of another $18 million under the National Trade and Corridor Fund towards priority rail park infrastructure at Centreport. We recently signed a memorandum of understanding with my colleagues and governments from Saskatchewan and Alberta Manitoba's unique gateway and hub initiatives cannot develop in isolation. External cooperation partnerships with our prairie neighbors will leverage our initiatives for success. As we continue to improve our infrastructures within the province, ensuring the interconnectivity and the coordination across the provincial borders are critical, enabling our access to Canadian and international markets. Just today, we announced that a new Manitoba Strategic Corridor Advisory Council to advance Manitoba's economic growth and strengthen the province's position within today's shifting supply chains and trade corridors. This is the first initiative since signing the MOU. The new Manitoba Strategic Corridors Advisory Council will provide strategic advance to enhance the performance and resiliency of the province's transportation network, strengthening our transportation sector's contributions to the regional economy, and improve provincial and supply chain opportunities. Another one, Manitoba's strategies is to invest in northern economic trade routes to forge a more prosperous future for northern communities and all Manitobans. For example, we are investing $74 million to existing railway line in Churchill. The Hudson Bay Railway line is important to northern economic development and provides access to Indigenous communities. In collaboration with the federal government, investments with the railway line to the Port of Churchill will total of $147.6 million. The Trade and Commerce Grid initiative will further advance Manitoba's highway network. Once completed, the grid of strategic routes that support the heaviest highway loading will represent 36.5% or 7,112 kilometers of Manitoba's all-weather provincial road network, which 6,000 kilometers will be on the grid already completed. The three-year strategic route plan includes projects of the provincial truck highways 5, 21, 59, and 83. Manitoba Transportation Infrastructure will continue its efforts to build strategies to foster innovations with work smarter, deliver services, and improve outcomes for Manitobans while ensuring the best value for money for all our investments. That concludes my comments, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
We thank the minister for those comments. Does the critic for the official opposition have an opening statement? The honourable member for Kiiwetinoong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank the minister for the opening comments. And I look forward to the robust discussion to be able to answer some of the questions that we have and Manitobans have. And my understanding, some of the questions are going to kind of focus around some of the staff vacancies as it's an issue here in the province and in the department, the inability to fill the vacancies, the Channels project as well. The crumbling road system and the major routes, and not just on the major routes, but also the northern roads. So I'm looking forward to this discussion and to hear from the minister some of the engagement strategies that he is implementing to further along some of the announcements that have been made over the last little while. Because I think most Manitobans want to see those announcements become reality and not just announcements for the sake of announcements in the election year that we're in. So I'm looking forward to being able to put some questions and put some information on the record for all of Manitoba.
We thank the official opposition critic for those comments. Under Manitoba practice, debate on the minister's salary is the last item considered for the department and the Committee of Supply. Accordingly, we shall now defer consideration of line item 15.1 bracket A contained in resolution 15.1. At this time, we invite the minister's staff to join us at the table, and we ask the minister to introduce the staff in attendance when ready.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
The Honorable Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm so honored to actually introduce my staff that have done a very good job in the last year since I became Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure. First, I have my Deputy Minister, Sarah Teely, beside me. And then I have Deputy Minister Blair McTavish beside her. Assistant Deputy Minister, sorry. And then I also have my Chief of Staff, Tyler Sablonian, who is with us over here. And then we also have an Assistant Deputy Minister, Christine Sire. And then we have Assistant Deputy Minister Cynthia Ritchie, just on the side there. And then we have the Assistant Deputy Minister, Johanna Boto. Everybody knows him during the task force when it came to the vaccine. And then we also have beside him is Russ Anderchuk as the Assistant Deputy Minister. And then we also have Amber Zhang, who is with Christine Sire's region. So we want to welcome all of them here right now. And I know I'm going to get good support from all of them.
We thank the member for those introductions, and we welcome all of the members who are all in attendance here today. According to Rule 78(16), during the consideration of departmental estimates, questioning for each department shall proceed in a global manner, with questions put separately on all resolutions once the official opposition critic indicates that questioning is concluded. The floor is now open for questions. The Honourable Member for Kiiwetinoong.
To expedite the process and get right into the questions, I only brought one staff member, Rylan Ramnerace, so we'll introduce him behind me. So that's we'll compact that time and we'll get started right away. Very efficient. I'd like to begin by asking the Minister if he could provide us with a list of all the technical appointments in his department, including their names and titles.
Before I recognize the Minister, I will welcome the opposition critic staff to this meeting as well. The Honourable Minister.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank the member for the question. I do have two technical appointments. They're on the list. They still are my previous ones that I had, Andrew Clark and Jeff Chashukoff. But now since Andrew is now working with the Premier, I now have Tyler Sablonian, who is my Chief of Staff, and then Jory Nychuk has just joined us a couple weeks ago. So we have two of them in my office.
The Honourable Member for Kiiwetinoong.
Can the Minister provide us with an organizational chart that lists all the employees in the program areas?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the member for Kiiwetinoong, if you look on page 12 of the organizational structure chart for the Manitoba Transportation Infrastructure as of April 1st, 2023, you'll have all the members, all my senior staff that were mentioned here today. Amber is just actually would be underneath Christine Sires as corporate and strategy and planning or finance and administration, right, Amber? Yeah. And so these are these are the organized org charts with the different divisions within our department. So we have corporate service division, infrastructure capital projects, and then we have engineering and technical services, transportation operations, and emergency management.
The honorable member for Kiwetinook.
Can the minister tell us the current vacancies in each department?
The honorable minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What we have right now currently with the department as an entire department is a 30% vacancy rate.
The honorable member for Kiwetinook.
Can the minister then put a number to that 30% vacancy rate in terms of what that number actually is?
The honorable minister.
Yeah, when it comes to our, thanks, Mr. Chair. When it comes to our full department, the amount of full-time equivalents of FTEs is about 1825.3 is what's is considered a full amount of full-time equivalent staff. And right now we have 589.4 FTEs that we're looking for to fill those positions.
The honorable member for Kiwetinook.
So just to be clear then, the vacancy number is 589?
The honorable minister.
Yes, it is. And the thing is, what we have done, this is January 31st, 2023. We have actually are now in a recruitment. We're doing recruitments for the last couple of years totally, and making sure we do have, when it comes to our baby boom generation, we have a lot of retirees that are retiring from the department, much like across government, and also in every industry in North America. We have an aging population, and the fact is that the challenge now is finding human resources. And right now, our department's going to different areas of trying to recruit new individuals. We are starting with when it comes to governments, like when it comes to corporate structured services, with Christine Sayers' division. We are looking at STEP students. We're bringing STEP students in. We're bringing in, when it comes to co-op students from universities. That's kind of how we're trying to recruit them from a young age. We're also working at engineering, making sure that we work with the universities for recruitment. I've actually sent, I think Blair actually has gone to the Ukrainian Welcoming Center, because we have a lot of opportunity to hire Ukrainian refugees coming from Ukraine. A lot of them have their certification when it comes to certification within, when it comes to equipment, heavy equipment operators. They're actually the same standards here in Canada as they're in Ukraine. So we've actually hired a number of individuals there from Ukraine. So we are actively recruiting, and when it came to staff from retired staff, when it came to snow clearing, we had probably the third worst snowfall in Manitoba history last winter. We realized that with so many retirees happening, we've actually asked a number of them to be on standby on weekends, and also we've actually hired about 40 of them back to do snow clearing for us. It's a challenge even with the private sectors when it comes to snow clearing companies. They're having challenges of finding staff. It's happening all over. But we have actually probably initiated a lot of recruitment that other departments are actually copying us on how well we are recruiting in our department.
The honorable member for Kiewitnuk.
So the minister referenced 589 vacancies of FTE. I'm just wondering, what's the percentage then of part-time and seasonal? What's that number?
The honorable minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to also put on the record here that when I give you the numbers for the vacancies of full-time FTEs, it was 589.4. February 28th, we got statistics, and it's actually improved by 547.4. So we're actively recruiting. We're actually making headway when it comes to getting staff. And at the same time, when it comes to seasonal part-time, those we hire them based on what is required, because we do have a number of employees that are seasonal who work for us for snow clearing, but then they may go to work in their own business during the summer to do their own work, either if they're landscaping or if they have other options there. But these are the people that we hire continuously on a seasonal basis. And so they're not included in the full-time FTEs.
The honorable member for Kiewitnuk.
So what is the number, not necessarily vacancies then, of part-time and seasonal employees? What is the number?
Thank
The
you, Mr.
honorable
Chair.
minister.
It really depends on what time of year it is too. It's basically we hire as we need them. So if we have like other projects that we need part-time, let's say snow clearing, or when it comes to special projects, we will hire them as needed. But the ones that we have here that are listed of 1,825 are full-time regular employees.
The honorable member for Kiewitnuk.
So with that explanation, then, are you saying then there is 0 vacancies in part-time and seasonal?
The honorable minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With the explanation, when it comes to seasonal and part-time like workers, we hire them as we need them. And the fact is, right now, when it came to snow clearing, we're in transition right now when it becomes between seasons of snow clearing versus summer employment when it comes to students. We go to different areas of the province to hire students to work in our transportation infrastructure for additional staffing. And we've always done that throughout many, many years of summer recruitment when it comes to students who are either finishing, are in university between years, or when it comes to if they're old enough to work from high school.
The honorable member for Kuwait.
Yes, I'm wondering if the minister could then provide us with the number of part-times and seasonals that were employed this last winter season.
The honorable minister.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. When it comes to tracking our regular full-time equivalent staff in the department, again, that 547 vacancies is basically the full-time of our staff, and it's our maintenance staff is all included in that amount of vacancies. And when it comes to part-time or seasonal, again, we don't really track that number because it varies from when it comes to snow clearing to transitioning and into the summer season. So these are numbers that, again, we when we talked about each month, we have a statistics of our full-time. That's where we track our full-time staff is in the department is the full-time employment. And when it comes to our seasonal, those are just hired and sometimes they're contracted out within the department when it comes to snow clearing. Some of these people come back every year for snow clearing. So we don't have the actual numbers at this point in time.
The honorable member for Kuwait.
I must say that's a little disheartening that you don't know the figure that you were spending on snow removal last year for part-time and seasonal, as you referenced the number of FTEs you have, and you can track that number, but you also have the part-time number, and obviously that's an expenditure, but you're not able to track that, or you're not able to share that, or is that information that you can then provide with this committee?
The honorable minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an ongoing revolving when it comes to when it comes to the seasonal work, because again, some people come and they work for a period of time, and then next time we might get a new group when it comes to summer students, and so these are very hard. Like when it comes to tracking, our focus right now is to make sure that we recruit for full-time employment. And we are actively recruiting, like I said, with all these different venues that I talked about, is to make sure that even when it came to our administration, our staffing for now we're going to be putting prompt payment legislation on the going forward, making sure that contractors are paid within a 30-day period. We are actually staffed up our department, and I can happily say that where we had a number of invoices in the thousands, are now under 100 invoices to be paid. So I commend Christine Sires' division for the recruitment and getting the people in there to do the administration work, and we've actually been very successful in recruitment, and we're continuing to do that same recruitment on all 5 departments, and we'll continue. Again, we have $2.5 billion just on highways that we wanted to invest in, and we are going to make sure that we step up and we basically fill those positions in any way we can, because we want to move this province forward, and we want to make sure that the opportunity of now signing an MOU with Saskatchewan and Alberta, we are going to get ready for what's to come. And Manitoba is looking so bright right now with economic development. Our premier right now is looking at economic development every corner, not just in constituencies we're held like the NDP. We want to make sure that Western Manitoba is going to have economic development. I know that I think there's some of these, I think the leaders going out to Verdun right now, but you know what? We were forgotten during the NDP days, the dark days of the NDP. And the fact is now we want to make sure that with the sign up with an MOU with Saskatchewan, we are going to make sure that we have economic development, and our highways are going to be busier. As our highways get busier, we're going to need to rebuild those highways and invest in those highways, and we're going to be recruiting people so that we can get our department and have success going forward into the future.
The honorable member for Kiiwetinoong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, there was absolutely no resemblance of an answer there at all. We're talking about part-time seasonal, and specifically in snow removal. And the minister referred back to the FTE and the vacancy rate there, and the need that they're only tracking, and the department is only tracking the FTE number, not necessarily the part-time and seasonal number, but yet there is still vacancies there, and obviously a difficulty in recruitment and retention in not just the FTE, but also the seasonal employment, as the minister alluded to, and he referred to private contractors and prompt payment and things like that. But maybe if we can just kind of get back to the question and maybe look at maybe a snapshot then, or a window of time for the cost associated with seasonal and part-time, and let's for sake of our winter seasons, let's say October the 1st until well, we'll say April, because we're sitting here and it's kind of raining and snowing outside as we speak, so we're not going to say we're out of the snow. But if we look at what was then the budget for the part-time and seasonal in that window of time from the beginning of October till the end of, well, we'll say the end of March, because we're still into April.
The Honorable Minister.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. And I wanted just to let the member know that a majority of our maintenance staff are full-time and very few are part-time or casual staff. So in 2023, 22 to 2023 fiscal year, we actually had a salary of $49.6 million of total salary for our maintenance. And again, majority of it is almost all of it is, except for a few part-time and casual workers, make up for that amount of money that we've actually paid in salaries to our staff.
The Honorable Member for Kiwetinoong.
So the minister mentions that the majority of the staffing and the makeup then is FTEs and full-time positions, but yet the vacancy rate is 30% or 540 plus vacancies. So obviously it's the complement is nowhere near where it should be. I'm wondering if the minister can then share with us, is there then, if the rate is, I think it's 547, is there then 547 job postings out there?
The Honorable Minister.
Well, thanks, Mr. Chair. And I just wanted to give, when we came to recruitment, just from between 2019 to 2022, in those few years, we've actually filled 1,100 positions. So the fact is, right now, actively, we're actually have 93 positions that are open for recruitment. And we're continuing to make sure that once those positions are filled, we continue circulating for other positions when it comes to making sure, because those are priority ones that need to be filled very quickly here. But we're looking at different perspective of when it comes to different qualifications, especially when it comes to engineering. And of course, we have 5 different divisions here. So we're recruiting in all 5 of these divisions. Some of the divisions, I think the EMO actually has, we're still looking for some staffing. We have actually increased the staffing so that we can actually provide more services when it comes to flooding, and making sure that we work closely with all municipalities and working closer with Indigenous Services Canada, along with First Nation communities. So we are recruiting all the time, and we want to continue recruiting because, again, we have a lot of highways to rebuild and to invest in. And so we'll continue looking at recruitment. Again, I have a lot of my colleagues who are ministers in other departments are having the same issues, especially with healthcare. And when it comes to other, when it comes to education, it's getting harder and harder to find staff now, because when I was in the financial service side, I remember reading a book called Dr. David Foote, who wrote about demographics and where most people were born in a peak in North America, especially in Canada, was between 1960 to 1964. That peak is actually going into the into their 60s, and there's a lot of retirement happening right now. And the thing is, that is why we need to look at recruitment. That's why we also have to do when it comes to investing, like, and looking at immigration is important. We also, one thing that we did was we did a lot of consultation with First Nation communities and had some really great discussions. But one thing that I always say during these discussions is that, look, we're in the North, especially, there's a lot of competition when it comes to mining right now. A lot of jobs are being provided, especially in the Snow Lake area. And there's a lot of taking of staff, especially in the maintenance areas of between some of them going to the mines. The municipalities are taking some of our staff. It's a challenge right now in the North. And that is why it's important every time we meet with First Nation communities to say that, there's a number of them, when we went to Nelson House, sat at their council meeting talking about their highway that we just announced, that we're going to rebuild after 20 years that never have been asking for, and we're finally we're delivering this year. And the thing was, we had actually a number of in their community that actually were our staff that are about to retire. And every time I meet with the First Nation communities, I obviously say, look, we are hiring. We have careers for MTI staff, and we would love to see more opportunities for First Nations, especially in the North, to apply for a job within MTI.
The honorable member for Kiwetinoong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, nowhere near the answer at all from the question. So the question was about the 547 FTE positions, and if there was a posting then for those 540 plus positions. And the minister made reference to, in the past, leading up to whatever point in time, that they had filled 1,100 positions and there was currently 93 open. So earlier, the 547 vacancies, and now the minister is saying there is only 93 open. So does that mean then that the 400 plus vacancies are going to be then eliminated?
The honorable minister.
Yeah, when it comes to the positions of 93 positions, it actually, when these positions are posted, it actually, assigns more just when it comes to more recruitment within those positions. So when 93 positions are posted, there could be, when it comes to one position, there could be 4 members who've applied for it, and all 4 of them can be hired to making sure that if they're qualified and they have some experience or they're able to fill those positions, we will fill 4 of those recruitments into the 93 positions. Because again, when we get posted one position, there might be able to hire 4 of them for that one position. So then, if it's a maintenance snow clearing operator, we put a position up there. We might have 10 people applying for it, but then we can actually employ 4 out of the 10 because they qualify. And then they fill 4 positions, it's not just one position.
The honorable member for Kiwetinoong.
So again, Mr. Chair, I'm looking for clarification then. So there is only currently 93 positions being posted out of the 540 plus vacancies?
The honorable minister.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. There's 93 positions on right now being advertised for, but at the same time, out of those 93 positions, there could be 4 individuals who can qualify for one of those positions, and we hire 4 of those individuals to fill that position. So when it gets posted, there'll be multiple opportunities for that one position. So that's why right now the stat shows there's 93 positions, There could be that when it comes to an engineer, there could be 3 people that we're looking for under that one position. So when you advertise, you don't have three same positions. We advertise for one position, but we might be hiring for 3 people that have the same qualifications to fill 3 equivalent, 3 of those positions equivalently. And that's how I've been, Christine was just informing me that's how we do that, so that we're not advertising duplicate for the same position.
The honorable member for Kiwetinock.
Yes, then for clarification's sake, I'm wondering if the minister can then provide the titles of those 540 plus positions.
The honorable minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When it comes to titles, like not every position has a title. There's positions that are, when it comes to a person with administration needs, when it comes to, they may be a clerk 1 or classified that way, but not a title. But what we can do is we can actually get more information on the 500 vacancies and making sure that they come in different categories in which divisions that these vacancies are at, and we can get more detailed information on the breakdown of the positions that are needed in our department. And like I said, not all of them have titles. They have classifications, but not titles.
The honorable member for Kiwetinock.
Okay, then just to confirm then that the minister will undertake for the committee then to provide the listing of the 540 plus, whether it be by title or whether it be by department or wherever they go, but he's going to break down the 540 plus positions rather than just the 93 positions.
The honorable minister.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, that's correct. We will have a breakdown of when it comes to some titles, but we'll also break down of the qualifications, the classifications of those positions, and we'll bring down, be able to report at a later date when it comes to those statistics.
The honorable member for Kiwetinock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank the minister for that undertaking. I do have another follow-up question when it comes time to the snow clearing part of that. I'm just wondering if the minister can provide the committee with the total value of the private snow clearing contracts from this past season.
The honorable minister.
Mr. Chair, I just want to clarify with the member, it's the contracts that were for snow removal for private, or what, is that what you were asking?
The honorable member for Kiwetinock.
Yes, for private contractors that would have taken on or assisted in terms of the various maintenance yards in Manitoba. So what the value of the private contractors that were hired to do that work.
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just wanted to let the member know that when it comes to our snow removal, there's different levels of clearing, and level 1 and 2. Level 1 is going to be the ones that are major routes when it comes to, when it comes to the policy that we have there is we do clearing within 4 hours after it's okay for our, safe enough for our staff to go out on the road and clear, be able to clear. So these are all done, levels 1 and 2 are done by our own staff and our own equipment. And we have over 350 pieces of equipment for clearing, of snow clearing. And we added another 17 pieces of equipment. When I say 17 pieces of equipment, it is machines that are much bigger, much more powerful, that we can get more area done with those machines. So our government has invested in equipment and will continue investing in equipment so that we are more efficient when it comes to snow clearing and we get more roadways done with that same equipment, Mr. Chair. And so when it comes to those levels, we do provide with our own department. But when it comes to level 3, and it's only level 3, we do have some, and we do a lot of it our own with our own equipment, especially if it's within the area where we can actually get through it. Once we do levels 1 and 2, we go on do continue with levels 3 so that there's secondary roads. But we also have good relationships with our municipalities. And a lot of times, I come from a small town, and a lot of times municipalities have their equipment out there too. And some of the secondary roads, it just warrants that, if we can have an agreement with them, then they can get the third level done a lot quicker than, let's say, if we went by the time we do our first and second levels. So this gives us an opportunity to actually work with municipalities. And we've actually, with municipalities, during these agreements, because of the gas prices and fuel prices, and we've actually indexed, made sure that we were able to increase that for that extra cost. So we work really well with municipalities, and we know the importance of working together because at the end of the day, it's Manitobans that need to get to work, need to get, for emergency issues. We want to make sure our highways are plowed and maintained. And the thing is, we operate within our budget. Very little that we actually do with supplementing with the private sector. And so we do occasionally we do actually have the private sector that sometimes helps us out. But I know the city of Winnipeg quite often gets private sectors to do a lot of their snow clearing duties. And so again, I feel that if we invest in human resources and equipment, we can get a lot more highways done on a more efficient way.
The Honorable Member for Kiiwetinoong.
Yeah, so I'm wondering then, can the minister then break down, not interested totally in the level 1, 2 number that the minister referred to and that the province is taking on the level 1, level 2. We can have that different a discussion on that at a different time. But when you refer to other levels, level 3 and 4, and partnering with the municipalities, and then further to that went on to talk about private. So is there then a breakdown of the snow clearing contract dollar amount value with the municipalities and also a separate breakdown with private contractor?
The Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, and just wanted to give the information to the member for Kiewit that our total budget, our total amount that we've actually have with the 32 agreements that we have with municipalities is $417,000. $417,000. And it's very small compared to the rest of their budget. Like I said, majority, like again, levels 1 and 2 are all done by our own equipment and snowplow operators and maintenance operators. And the other we only have level 3. So that's level 3 that we do have some work with the municipalities. And again, it's totaled up to $417,000. But when it came to last year's third worst winter in history, when it comes to snow amounts, especially in the Winnipeg area, the region, we probably would have only really hired, because the challenge was every time you actually plowed, and I saw the city too, the challenges were, I remember a lot of cars going around the city of Winnipeg with smashed in front fenders, because they couldn't see the visibility when it came to intersections. I remember seeing many situations where people came to close calls. I remember, you had to roll into an intersection, and those were the challenges that we saw with municipalities last year. And a lot of times there was never time for some of those intersections to be even cleared, because one snowfall after another came, and it's within days of each other. So the only way when it came to our working with the private sector, it was only just to remove big snowbanks that we couldn't get to right away, because the fact is, again, we were on a continuous of plowing snow almost on a daily basis. So we actually provided opportunities to use the private sector just to help us with that extra amount. I know there's, if you go down to Trans-Canada Highway, there was times where there was actually, it's nice to put trees and shelter belts, but when you have a winter like we had last winter, that snow gets piled up in that shelter belt. And that would actually, the piles got really high once we plow it. Accumulation of plowing and snow blowing, we had to remove some of those piles. And so we would have used the private sector to do those type of operations. But like I said, last year was the third worst winter on history, and we had to use the private sector for those special arrangements. But when it came to this coming winter, we didn't have a harsh winter. We, like I said before in question period, we were always prepared for the worst, but hoping for the best. And we actually had a half decent winter. We had a below normal snowfall, even especially in the southwest corner, throughout the Red River. I think, thank God, we dodged a bullet when it came to North Dakota. I think they had some major challenges. I've actually went to a funeral in Omaha, a family member, and I remember driving through there, and there was I went between snowstorms, and that was in February, and they kept on getting snowstorms. So we were fortunate that we were preparing for it, but we never had those snowstorms. So the thing is, we really didn't use the private sector much this year, because we never had to, because we had bigger equipment. We bought that 17 new pieces of equipment that got more of our clearing of our snow. And we also went back to recruiting back some retired employees that, they retire. They feel that sometimes people retire and they realize that, hey, I'm kind of bored now. And we had the opportunity to pay them standby and have opportunities to have them drive our snowplows. Sometimes you always there's crises, but there's also opportunities within those crises.
The Honorable Member for Kiewit.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, we came awfully close to an answer there anyhow. We got half of it with the 417K for municipal, and the minister had made reference then to the private sector and the need and the use that they had done this past year. So now I want to expand on that question a little bit when I talk about the private sector. Then can the minister then provide us with the private sector snow removal contracts value for this year as well as last year?
The Honorable Minister.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, this past year, we actually had historical snowfalls, and when it came to the budget, a lot of times when it comes to our budget, most of their budget is spent on our current staff, our equipment, and so we basically spent our operation budget. And this past year, because of such an unusual year historically, we actually spent extra $20 million just to make sure that the roads were clear. And a lot of that $20 million was our own staff and our own equipment. And a lot of it was to do with overtime from our staff. Also was casual workers that came back, like I said, retired workers who had the opportunity to come back to help us with our maintenance snow clearing. And so the thing is, we have now, knowing that are we in a cycle of snow, we actually increased our operation budget to $10 million. Actually, $11.3 million of an increase, because we know that we hear from the Manitoba Trucking Association. We met with them many times. We have a great rapport with them. They like the ideas that we're investing $2.5 million just on highways alone. The announcement and the actual tendering right now, and the reward that's going to go out there soon for Highway 75. We're investing historical amounts of money. And the thing is, at the same time, we know the maintenance. We listen to the supply chain issues that we have with trucking industry, and we want to make sure that we go back to a 24/7 operations. And that is why we spent more money this past year to make sure that understanding that the NDP actually reduced weekends when they were in power. And now we were making sure that we are standby when it comes to weekend coverage. When it comes to our retirements, they're coming back to help us, or some casual workers. Again, we are making sure that our highways are clear, and we want to make sure that the any way we can do it is that if we have emergencies, like we have during the flood, we had the second worst flood on history this past spring. And the thing is, we do have an operation budget that making sure that we have, when it comes to unforeseeable situations, that we're prepared for those. And that's kind of like our motto when it comes to our department. We're preparing for the worst, but hoping for the best. And hoping for the best now is when I give my report today, that, you know what, I want to make sure that we don't have to worry about this flood as much as like we did last year, and we can actually focus on repairing and rebuilding our highway infrastructure.
The Honorable Member for Kiwetinoong.
Well, I was also hoping for the best and hoping for some pretty clear and decisive answers. So the minister had mentioned that the overall snow clearing budget then increased by $20 million. And then also made reference to the fact that the municipalities were 417,000. But the question was about, during the snow removal process, the amount that went to the private sector. And understanding the minister had again made reference to the fact that current staff had done overtime, over and above, extra time, and albeit we don't have to say my appreciation to those employees that did that. I know a lot personally from my area that took that on. But at the same time, in certain circumstances, it was, no matter what they do, it wasn't enough. You can only work so many hours in a day. You still have to go home, spend time with your families, and rest and things like that. So there was a private sector that was brought in to do some of this work, and the question was, how much of those dollars was actually spent to the private sector? So I'm thinking that's a pretty straightforward question to ask. Obviously, the minister was able to provide the number to the municipalities, and a very specific number of $417,000. So I'm just wondering then, can we provide then that specific dollar amount that was used to the private sector to take on the snow clearing process?
The Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, and when it comes to the question that the member gave us, asked me, is that, when it comes to maintenance contracts that we have with everyone, when it comes to our operations, is basically, we can't predict what kind of weather related events we're going to have, what kind of winters we're going to have. But we have an operation budget that is set out. We've increased it by $11 million this past year. And the thing is, we have contracts, we have employees, we have staff, we have equipment ready to go, but at the same time, we're not quite sure what's coming at us all the time. And so what we do then is we make sure that we have some side contracts with municipalities, and municipalities on an ongoing basis. We know that because there's a contract, that we have an idea what the cost could be when it comes to budgeting. But when it comes to the type of winter, we could have no snow. And we had winters where we had no snow. The thing is, then we have other situations where when it comes to our operations, where we might have, when it comes to rain events in the summertime that didn't really have this, it wasn't caused, the floods didn't cause by the snowfall, but it was caused by excessive amounts of rain. So we always have to prepare ourselves. Manitoba is it's not like certain parts of Saskatchewan, and I saw the comparison. We were compared to Saskatchewan. And when it came to last winter, they hardly had any snow. If you go beyond the Saskatchewan border, there was no snow here. But as soon as you came past Brandon, we had a winter that never ended in the Red River Valley. So you never know where the situation's coming from. We had a winter again, we had a spring. It wasn't so much the winter. We were spared by the last winter's snowfall. Thank God they were Alberta clippers that came our way. And that was very dry precipitation that comes, and it comes into our waterways and melted. We were spared when it came to the spring thaw of last year of 2022. But I said to my department, I come from a farm. My concern, and my dad always told me, is when those Colorado lows come. Those are the concerns that I have. And the thing was, we had one coming one after another in the month of April. It started with the weekend of Easter, and every weekend I think we had 6 weekends in a row of Colorado lows. Who could predict that? And so this is where, when it came to our flooding situation, our operations out there is trying to foresee what's coming at us. And we probably had one of the worst case scenarios when it comes to snow removal.
Order, please. I would like to advise the committee that the House will be briefly reconvening to consider a leave request. As such, this section of the Committee of Supply will now briefly recess and reconvene once the leave request in the House has been considered. Committee recess. We will now resume this Committee of Supply. The Honorable Member or the Honorable Minister, I will let you finish your answer about Colorado lows.
Okay, I'll start. continue with that. Well, the thing is, we end up having about 6 of them and 6 Colorado lows, and the fact is, that's where we had to use our operating budget when it comes to the flood situation. And so this is where we like, when it comes to having people on standby, we do have like staff, we do have maintenance equipment and stuff like that, but there's sometimes we have to hire more because we might have an emergency that we may have about 2 weeks of in the case of last spring, we had almost like 2 months of emergency our staff working full to extra hours trying to fight the flood and watch all these F words here, and then be able to maintain so that people had safety, people were evacuated if they needed to be, and our staff were out there on a continuous basis. So these are circumstances that we have when it comes to weather events. And so this is what our maintenance budget is all about. And sometimes you have to have some contracts out there, if it's either private or whatever it is, to making sure that we can act on them and when we have emergencies.
The honorable member for Kiiwetinoong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the minister made reference to it just in his last few seconds there was you have to have private contracts. He referred to having side contracts. So again, I'm looking for that dollar amount, and the minister had referenced, it's hard to predict the future, and I agree on that point. But we're talking about expenditures that have already happened. So the question specifically was, what dollar amount was spent on private snow clearing contracts? And I'm not talking about the future because we don't know what that's going to be, but I'm talking about expenditures that have already happened over the last 2 years. And the minister made reference in his last response to having those signed contracts, having to have them for that matter, but also side contracts and contract with municipalities. And he did break down a municipal number of $417,000. But again, how much of that was private contract dollar amount value?
The honorable minister.
Well, Mr. Chair, when it comes to, these are estimates for the upcoming year, the budget of 2023, 2024. And the thing is, these are estimates that we're talking about here. And the fact is, we're talking about the estimates because when it comes to if and when we need contracts, it could be pieces of equipment, it can be services by private contractors. We just can't put a figure amount on there. It's in our overall operations budget. And so the fact is, there is not a set amount or even a consistency. It is only when needed. And the member has to realize that if he goes back into the days of when the former NDP government was on doing the same thing, they had the same standby offers when it comes to private contractors, because you can't all of a sudden build up just in case and have all these operations just sitting there. We sometimes have to go to the private sector to get some of those services, but we're hoping, like I said, we do majority of our operations are with our own equipment and our own staffing. So to give an amount like that, again, this is a budget that we're focusing on, and the fact is we have to have an operation budget here, but at the same time, we are increasing our equipment. This is one thing I have to say about the NDP from the dark days of the NDP. They didn't do anything when it came to deferred maintenance. We inherited $1 billion deficit from them, but we also inherited bad highways. We also inherited bad when it came to infrastructure of schools and hospitals. I remember we had to make a number of announcements to put new roofs on schools. And I remember also this legislature. Not one thing was done in this legislature. And since we came into this government here, we are putting close to 100, 10 years of $50 million. I think it's, or is it 10 years of $50 million, but we're putting this money into this legislature because it's almost like when the NDP were in power, they never did anything when it came to rebuilding. They focused on they overspent in every department, but they never invested into infrastructure and maintenance. And so this is why we are listening to industry. We are making sure that our goal is to have 24/7 when it comes to snow clearing. And we are spending record amount of money on rebuilding our highways. Because we feel that right now that Manitoba is in a very good position to grow. We just signed an MOU with Alberta and Saskatchewan. And one thing I said, one of my cousins who's a truck driver said to me from Russell, who drives in both Saskatchewan and Manitoba, he said one time when the NDP were in power, the highways were really bad shape. And he said Saskatchewan had far better highways. And now he said when I was meeting with him last November, and he said that our highways are starting to compete and actually surpass Saskatchewan highways. So the 7 years that we've been in government, we've actually improved our highways, rebuilt our highways, and we're going to continue doing that because the fact is we know that highways and infrastructure is the best investment to grow the economy. And right now, the excitement and the opportunities that we have in the north now, we've actually invested $15 million in the Thompson Airport to help with them to rebuild their terminal. Again, it's the second largest cargo and activity of any airport besides the Winnipeg International Airport, Richardson International Airport. So this is an opportunity to look at the north, to have opportunities working with First Nations to have a trade corridor up in the north, and I'm excited about that. I'm so excited that we can work with Saskatchewan and Alberta and working with First Nations because there's opportunities in the north, there's opportunities in the south. We just now built our first potash mine. I was involved with that, with making sure that our government actually continues to allow economic development happen in every corner of this province, and we'll continue. And this is also investing in our highways and investing in our maintenance of our highways.
The honorable member for Kiiwetinoong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, again, no answer there, but I must say I feel for your family member who's a truck driver. That must have been a very uncomfortable conversation to have when you let him know that you voted against legislation that would have allowed him to use the bathroom when he was going about his business and work. So that must have been a very awkward conversation to have when you talk about support for truck driving and you actually go against that. And you actually go against that and talk out that legislation. Again, the minister is refusing to answer the question, and the question was about private sector contracting for snow removal. And again, the minister talks around the answer, admits that they have side contracts, admits that they have to have contracts, and those are his words, have to have those contracts. But the simple matter, sometimes those contracts have to exist because of the 30% vacancy rate, because of the 540 plus vacancies in his department, which the minister conveniently wants to talk about the past, but doesn't want to talk about the future, and vice versa. Whenever it's convenient. But the fact of the matter is that those vacancies are under his department today, and under his government's department for the last number of years. But again, refusing to acknowledge and answer the question about the privatization of his very own department, which is very unfortunate. Rather take us down memory lane as to the Colorado lows and all the expectations that we can't predict the future. We can learn from the past. Well, it's clear that's not happening here. And I must say the questions that I have should have taken just a matter of minutes. It would be no issue whatsoever. Just simply asking about vacancy rates, asking about budgets, and asking about dollar amounts spent in various areas. And the minister has refused to answer that on a number of different occasions. So it's clear there's some kind of the private sector dollar amount secrecy in this department that is very unfortunate. And for the 540 plus vacancies that are there, those are Manitoba jobs that are not going necessarily to Manitobans anymore, but rather being spent on, again, as the minister puts it, side contracts and things they have to have. And those, again, are the minister's words, and we can look in Hansard, and that's exactly what those are. Have to have contracts. And I would beg to differ that those are, in fact, not have to have. We should be investing in our people, in our communities, in our departments, and in our public sector. And it's clear that's not happening here, but the minister still is just kind of dancing around that question, and it's unfortunate. So just for the record, we will point out that the minister has, on a number of different occasions now over the last number of questions, refused to answer the fact about how much dollars were spent on private snow clearing contractors here in Manitoba. When we time and time again have had these vacancy rates increase, have had these dollar amounts, and by the minister's answers, increased his own budget by $20 million, but still has a vacancy rate of 30%, of which that 30%, those 540 plus positions, he's only posting for 93, hoping that there'll be a big pool of people to draw from, when the fact is Manitobans would like to know what they're applying for, not knowing there's 93 positions, let's hope for the best. If I'm the top 93 out of those 540, then maybe I'll get a job, maybe I won't. Manitobans want to know what they have and what they're capable of doing, because we have great confidence in Manitobans. And I know the minister has referred to time and time again the past and those things like that, but the fact of the matter is those kind of terms of the previous government, this minister is part of the previous government, going on 6 plus 7 years now. And these are accumulations of all of those decisions. And again, the minister's refusal to answer a simple question, and it is a very simple question, and I'm sure it's just a line item in his department that he doesn't want necessarily everybody to see, that why not show us? Why not show us exactly what that private contractor dollar amount is? So again, I'll give the minister one last opportunity to kind of put on the record what exactly was that dollar amount for private snow removal contractors?
Well,
The Honorable Minister.
Well, Mr. Chair, that's coming from the member from Kiiwetinoong, when it comes to even private jobs that from snow removal, these are also Manitoba jobs too, for his information. And if the member wants to find out that in 22 and 23 year, which we had historical snowfall, which we spent over 20 more extra $1 million on maintenance, only $1.2 million, less than 1%, went to private sector contracts, hourly clearing rate. So the thing is, if the member can take those words back, but the thing is, again, less than 1% of a year that we had of historical rate of snowfall with an increased $20 million, this shows you that a lot of that cost went into our existing staff, our equipment, and for working with municipalities. It was only $471,000 or $417,000 when it came to municipalities. So it is still within our department. And so the thing is, with $20 million extra snowfall maintenance, this also included the flood. Again, you really don't know what's coming at us, but historically, we had the worst snowfall, and we've gotten spared that, but we had the worst flood situation. And not only did we have floods that happened just in the Red River Valley like we're having this year, we had water coming from the White Shell. We had to do some maintenance with the roads by adding extra fill so that people can get off their properties in the White Shell area. We also had water coming from every direction in the Porcupine Mountains. I'm not quite sure if a lot of those members know where all of these geographic locations are in rural Manitoba. We also went to, we had water coming from the Riding Mountains, which we were in Minnedosa for that flood. We had a helicopter from going to the Duck Mountains and the Porcupine Mountains. We had the Premier and even your leader at going down the Red River and to Peguas. We had a tour in the White Shell. So we had water coming in all directions. And like I said, these were private sectors, was only $1.2 million of the extra costs that we had to have for this coming year. So if the member, I've answered that question. And like I said, we always need private sectors contracts to make sure that we use them when we need them.
The honorable member for Kiwetinoong.
Well, I thank the minister for finally answering that question. That really took some time to get a number that was probably right in one of the front pages of the documents that he has in front of him. So the minister made reference many times to flooding, and we've had historical flooding here in Manitoba. We've had floods of the centuries. Storm of the century, we've been calling it, but it's almost become the norm and not the exception anymore. So we've had a number of devastating kind of weather events that have happened, whether it be snowfall, or whether it be excessive rain over periods of time. And again, one of the projects that's been sitting dormant here in Manitoba for quite some time is the Lake St. Mark Lake Manitoba project. And as the minister alluded to many times in some of his previous answers, you don't know the future, and you don't know what's coming. We've come off in the last couple of years now historical snowfalls and record snowfalls, which of course leads to a lot of flooding in areas that may some areas maybe are used to that flooding and have made kind of infrastructure investments over time to help alleviate any kind of impacts that may have. And then we have others that don't. And others that have been promised time and time again to actually have that work done and have that work completed, so that in the case of an extreme weather event, flooding, excessive snowfall, etc., that they are prepared. So the Channel Project is a large historical project for the province of Manitoba, and a large project for the Interlake and the First Nation and non-First Nation communities that reside in and around the area. So I'm just wondering if the minister can then tell us what's the timeline for the Lake St. Martin Lake Manitoba project, and when will construction start, and when will it be completed?
The honorable minister.
Scolding you.
The honorable minister.
Well, the project should have been started 2021, I believe. The thing is, we were ready for it, and it's basically under license review. And the fact is, I would ask the member, his federal counterparts are part of the Trudeau-Singh coalition government, and if he would only, say that how important this licensing is for this province. You basically said it yourself. It is so important for these First Nation communities. It was the NDP who put the emergency channel through that devastated the environment. And the thing is, we don't want to use that emergency channel anymore. And the thing is, we are consulting with our First Nations to making sure that we've consulted with many, and our team, along with Cynthia Ritchie here, has gone out and gone to many meetings with First Nations to making sure that there's consultations and that we actually get approval for the environmental licensing. I know it took years and it's been approved for the Delta port in BC. Finally, the federal government has basically approved it just in that last week. And now we'd like to see the approval of this licensing because we're ready for the construction. We always have been ready for the construction. We'd love to put the tenders out there, and we're ready for it. And we've actually had in our budget many years, a couple years now, I think how many, 3 years? Four fiscal years that we've had in our budget. We're just waiting for the federal government. So if you can help us and to get your coalition government in Ottawa to approve this license, it would save a lot of communities in Manitoba.
The honorable member for Kiewitinock.
Just to clarify, the only coalition government is with Brian Pallister and this government here in Manitoba. That's the only coalition that ever existed and still exists to this day here in Manitoba. But again, that's just a talking point for government here to be able to kind of deflect that away. And the member had mentioned, and the minister had mentioned the fact that this should have been, it started in 2021. So I will ask for clarification and from the minister, specifically, what are you waiting for on the federal government to do on the environmental process?
Before I recognize the honorable minister, I would just remind the committee and those posing questions and answers to direct them through the chair. Thank you for that, and the honorable minister.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, like when it comes to it's I'm not quite sure how more I can explain it. We need a license approved, and we're waiting for the federal government to approve this license. And we've actually submitted all our requests at the federal government. We've actually had 2 different times that we've actually submitted the licensing, and they want more information. We've done everything possible to how important this is to Manitobans. I know a lot of communities, especially when it came to First Nation communities, were very impacted, like the St. Martin First Nation community, Lake Manitoba First Nation community. They were all impacted by this devastation of the 2011-2014 flood. I know that for myself because a lot of that water came from the Western region. The thing is, one thing we've actually saved, and even when I've been co-chairing the EMO FPT, which is a federal provincial territorial meeting with the Minister Bill Blair, and I've been having a number of conversations with him to say how important his environmental minister has to, Ebo, I think is the Minister of Environment, to approve this, because the fact is even Bill Blair has said that for every dollar we spent in infrastructure mitigation, flood mitigation, we probably get it back 27 times more of saving property. And when he and I were talking, because of all the, and he's been keeping an eye on what was happening with us when in the devastation of these Colorado lows that were coming in the month of April, May. Our conversation was, like I said, you're lucky that we're not getting as much in the Western region, because this could be devastating to Lake Manitoba. And I kept on telling them that we need to get this license approved so that we can actually start this project. We don't want to be having emergency channels that the former NDP government did to cause more environmental issues. So the thing is, let's do it right. Let's get it done. Let's get it approved, because we have a design. We have it all set up. We're ready to go. Our contractors are ready to go.
The honorable member for Kiewitinock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the minister made reference to the fact that now the federal government is asking for more information. Can he be more specific exactly what information is being requested by the federal government?
The Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair. So the member's question was about where we're at right now with the environmental. So we have an Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, which is IAC, is right now doing the assessment of when it comes to the actual proving the licensing. So right now we have had 34 information requests from the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, and so we submitted our first round of requests in May of 2022, and there was 11,000 pages and 134 information requests. So there were subcategories of those 34 information requests. So we've done our due diligence to work with communities, and because when it comes to IAC public, and again, if you want more information, there is actually a registry with IAC Public Registry. So a lot of that information is actually online with IAC, again, Impact Assessment Agencies of Canada. And so with all this information that they required is from different areas of the perspective of this project. And one will be considered as groundwater when it comes to the aquifers are in the area. They want more. They need information on that. Heritage sites, also fisheries examples. What happens is there fish ladders involved in certain situations like that. That could be some of the things that they're requesting. Resources, vegetation. I know a lot of times we met with a lot of First Nation communities. A lot of the vegetation is sometimes their medicine. So we wanted to make sure that all those impacts are being answered here. And then the social economic impact studies we actually created some funding for socio-economic impact studies for Indigenous communities, so that there was some money funding for them to be able to collect information from their impacts of how it's going to affect their communities. So we've been really working with First Nations, making sure that they're at the table, so that the federal government can see that we're all in this together. Because at the same time, when we can complete this project, we're also wanting to work with Indigenous Services Canada to work on opportunities to doing this project to help Lake Manitoba, Lake St. Martin's, so that they never flood again. Because it seems like every structure that we put out there, it was Red River Floodway to the Portage Diversion or the Shellmouth Dam, we save billions and billions of dollars. I'm not quite sure if we even have any statistics of how many billions of dollars we saved over those years of these investments. And now we just want to invest into those two channels that we can save billions of dollars there. But we also want to start working on and meeting with Peguis First Nation to talk about their possibilities, that we need the federal government to lead on this, but we are willing to work together to making sure that our highway that goes through the community, that we can also use it between when it comes to diking opportunities, to water flows. We got to look at the whole area, the whole region of Fisher River, to make sure that the opportunities that we continue investing so that we eliminate flood damages. And again, talking with Bill Blair, the federal government's on board to say, look, we understand that by investing in these infrastructures, flood mitigation infrastructures, we do save a lot of money, but we just need the federal government to approve this licensing so we can go ahead with the channels.
The Honorable Member for Tuatinuk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The minister made reference to the info requests that were asked for, and that they had made their first submission in May of 2022. Just wondering, can the minister then let the committee know what's the timeline to address all the info requests, and when would he have those all completed and submitted?
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So when it comes to the timeframe of when it comes to the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, the IAC application, the thing was they came back for more questions about from the first time we did a submission, and now we're also with the socioeconomic impact studies with Indigenous communities. We want to make sure that we incorporate their studies, their findings, to do round two. So our goal, our target set date is May 31st of this year to submit round two. And we want to make sure that it can be a moving target here, a few days here and there, but we want to make sure that we give the communities, First Nation communities, and the Métis communities too in the area, an opportunity to do their socioeconomic impact studies so that we can incorporate them in the application so that when the federal government has all that information, they can make their decision. And so our goal is to have a round two submitted by May 31st, 2023, and hoping that we can, and then once it is submitted, it's up to the federal government at that point in time to either approve it, or they may come around and ask for more questions. But we're hoping that we've given so much information that they don't have to come back and they can actually approve the project. And we would like to see that happen because we're ready to go. We have action in our budget, and we're wanting the contractors or the Manitoba Heavy Construction Industry Association would love to have opportunities, and we also want to make sure that when we do this project, we do have $15 million for First Nation opportunities to apply once the project's approved, so that they can have an opportunity to bid on and have some opportunities to invest in their own kind of businesses, so that they can actually be able to compete with some of the tendering opportunities, because there's going to be a lot of opportunities in that region for the next number, probably 3 years of the construction of this major channels. It's going to be very good economic opportunities especially for First Nations to have an opportunity to have that on their resume when they have the opportunity to grow their business, their opportunities of having having been working on the channels. We'd like to see that participation.
The Honorable Member for Kiiwetinoong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank the minister for clarifying the date and understanding that the process, sometimes you have the back and forth between different levels of government, different questions, different potential hoops to jump through, and sometimes it gets to be frustrating in that regard. So I'm glad to see there's some progress being made on that front. As the minister had mentioned, there was initially the 34 info requests and I think you also mentioned basically 134 almost submissions or other requests that kind of just amplifies the process that came in or was submitted in May of last year, and here we are, May of this year, having the potential submission to go in. So some of the things that I'm wondering about then is if in fact everything has been done to this point, and understanding the minister had talked about some due diligence that was maybe done in regards to the environmental assessment and the info request that came forward, and but there's also the environmental part of that, but there's also, and as the minister had referenced, the Indigenous component, the Indigenous reference to those environmental impacts as well, and very familiar with the fact that any kind of flood issues that may arise in traditional territory for First Nation communities is devastating on food, plant, medicine, those kind of things. But in the minister's, in the estimates booklet on page 19, it refers to that there are 6 steps to the channel project's environmental approval. And it says in there that the target to have that done is actually in 2023, 2024. But it specifically says there are 6 steps for the channel project's environmental approval, and I'm wondering if the minister can then explain probably not before we wrap up today, and I'll re-ask the question again tomorrow if the minister can explain how many steps have been completed, broken out by year. For example, in year one, what was completed, last year, was any completed, those types of things, and what's the timeline and what step are we on now?
Oh, sorry, it's 5 o'clock.
Order. The hour
We're going
being,
overtime?
the hour being 5 p.m., committee rise.